to Providence, and I wish I could welcome you here in person for an opening, but I just had the pleasure of looking through this wonderful collection of prints for SAGA's 86th annual exhibition. And so I'm going to walk you through with Julie, and we'll look at some of the work that was selected for the awards. It was a hard job because there's so many wonderful prints here, and I really look forward to bringing my RISD students over to look at the show. There are a couple of prints in the show that really speak to our present moment of mask wearing and social distancing, and I was very much drawn to this lithograph by Naomi Silverman, and I gave that the Gertrude Fert Award. I like it very much as a portrait, and this sort of wonderful sympathy that's for this person. We can't see her face totally, but her eyes really are very expressive. And then as a lithograph, I think the way that the gum mask kind of informs this very kind of open shape is really very strong and beautiful. It has that freshness and very autographic drawing quality that I very much appreciate in lithography. I'm really drawn to this print because it takes a scene that is a real place in the world, and it actually transforms it into this place of imagination. So seeing this character with the camera looking up at the giant figure painted on the wall, it really sort of asks questions about what's real and what's illusion, and uses something that is very ordinary out in the world and brings us into another place. So I've selected Jennifer Leach's print for the Ruth Leaf Award. It's called Mixed Emotions, Buoyed. And I think that there's something about this abstract image that gives this idea of looking through and these kinds of mixed emotions, but then something that's also very significant about it is that it's a wood block, but these holes were actually made with bullet holes. And so I do think that in reflecting on this time that we've been through, this print actually also comments on the contemporary scene in the world we're in today. So it was exciting to see a great classic of printmaking here with this mezzotint by Robert Kipnis. So beautiful and so subtle and so masterful. Just really, I think the thing that when you see it in person, you absolutely notice these lines that he made that sort of articulate the table and the background. So I gave him the Robert Conover Award, and just am very happy that he entered this work into this show. This print is by Tomomi Ono, and it's a lithograph. I gave it the John A. Noble Prize. It's called Looking at Snow 2, and it is also a kind of nature-based abstraction. And I've looked at it very closely, and it's really very mysterious to see how the layers of ink create that softness and space, that almost kind of cloth texture. I think it's a very individual and beautiful use of lithography, and I also think the paper color plays quite well into the whole thing. So this print is by Diane Prozia, and I gave it the E.C. Lyons Materials Award. Diane's work really is wonderful because of its composition. So from a distance, we see how this architectural scene works in a square. But it also really bears close examination because there's a remarkable kind of pattern of marks that's used to articulate all the forms. And that's absolutely all her own, the way she used this very delicate grid of marks to bring out this whole scene in this full range of tones in etching. So I was very happy to be able to give an award myself for this exhibition. And as an engraver, I was so excited to see a work by Evan Lindquist and something that he's done in engraving. And it's a really remarkable subject because it's Magdalena van de Passa, who's one of the women engravers from the early modern period. So he does this tribute to her using his own engraving language, which involves these very, very strong kind of contour lines and then this extremely delicate orderly hatching. I'm teaching engraving right now, and I've talked about Magdalena to my class, and I can't wait to show them this print. There are quite a few prints in the show that show cityscapes, and even cityscapes of New York. But I think the thing that makes Andrea
Cornblue's print so special is the way she used the aquatint to bring all of the types of textures together. So the bricks and the trees and the fire escapes, and especially the cars. I think she did a really beautiful job on the cars. But the other thing that I'm really drawn to with this print is the concept, and that comes with the title, which is called kintsugi. And that refers to the Japanese practice of repairing broken pottery and then highlighting the repair in gold. And she's done that on the wall of the building in Brooklyn. And I think it's really a wonderful way of showing her kind of love of the city and the kind of care that a repair is actually not a disfiguring thing, but it's actually something that adds to the beauty and history of the whole scene.
So we have another print here that really comments on our contemporary time of mask wearing in this print by Carol Fitzsimons. And I think it's really a great thing to see in relation to Naomi Silverstein's portrait, because Carol is using this sort of gaze outward, this sort of very self-evaluating gaze in this dry point. And the other thing that's really points out the quality of the gaze is the way she's used that orange pochoir to highlight the glasses. So it's all about looking and being looked at in a really wonderful way. So we're looking at Bill Benken's wonderful lithograph called Close of the Day. And I've given it the Speedball Lithography Award. And I'm very drawn to this because I like the idea of narrative, and it really gives me this strong feeling of moving through just a few moments of time and looking around this neighborhood and seeing these different places as the sun goes down and the moon rises. It actually has a really strong sense of time that I think is emphasized by the attention given to the granularity of the stone and the lithography, and also I think this wonderful kind of soft edge around each of these rectangular fields. I've given Melody McKnight-Leary's print, Melancholy, the Speedball Intaglio Award. And certainly the idea of melancholy is something that goes way back in prints, and this makes me think of Dürer's Melancholia. But it's also a very, I think, original use of photo montage with polymer plates to create this sense of this psychological state, especially in the way that we actually see the images on the two sides of the diptych, so the sand dropping through the hands and the hourglass, and here the hand dropping the watches, the phases of the moon. And we really realized that this piece is all about time and about how we experience time, and certainly to me it very much reflects on what we've been through this last year about loneliness and time, and I think it's an extremely effective image on its own. So in looking at the color prints in the show, I was really drawn to Mark Sisson's print and gave it the Blick Materials Award. It's quite remarkable in that it's a combination of lithography and linocut, and so we actually see these kinds of flats that are created with the linocut, and then everything is really modified through the use of the lithography. And I think it's quite remarkable that this artist has used this idea of printmaking and the layers of printmaking and pulling an image apart in prints to comment on the kind of very constructed nature that happens with news reporting and that sort of thing. So the medium itself is really being used to create kind of a new idea of understanding the larger media of our culture. Really remarkable print, and certainly great in the way that it uses the different methods. This is a print by Liz Charlton, and I gave it the Hiromi Paper Award because I believe that this artist will certainly appreciate the papers that Hiromi carries. And we can actually see there's a little bit of a breeze here, so you can actually see the two layers of this image working together to create this amazing sense of weather and fog, distance, and also a sense of two different moments in time that are kind of interacting. So I was very happy to select Kate Hanlon's work for the Old Print Shop Award, because she's an artist who really shows how a traditional technique can be used in contemporary terms. And so she uses this white line woodcut, but she's doing contemporary subjects of the man fixing the electrical wires. And something about the way she's framed the brilliant orange and yellow with those delicate grays really make that print come forward, the image come forward, and feel very vibrant and fresh. It's quite a beautiful print. Selected James Hubbard's Roiling Cadence for the Speedball Woodblock Linoleum Award. And this print really bears close looking because there are so many layers on it of ink, and it's absolutely no paper left. And this wonderful use of this kind of background pattern and the blends. And I think the silver frame is also very important. It's a kind of nature-based abstraction that seems much bigger than it is on the print itself.